Shalom, shalom. Akmaha, you here? Malachi funny. Shalom, tree of the field. Shalom, Eliel. Shalom, y'all. Fix my camera. Brother Eliel, shalom, king.
Shalom.
Can you hear me good, bro?
Yeah.
Great.
I sound cool too.
You sound terrible.
My background noise.
Nah, you sound good, bro.
Do I got any background noise though?
No.
Okay, sweet.
Shalom, Cameron. Soldier Pam. Big brother. Today's lesson is over the elders of Hillel and Shammai. The elders of Hillel and Shammai. These are some prominent elders that I didn't learn about, right? I didn't know. Well, I didn't learn about them early in the truth. Figured this out really later. Actually, last month. Yeah. Like literally last month. Two prominent elders with high education. Okay. You know what I need to find? I need to find that story. I can actually probably find it. We sent this
Jewish. You can go to JVL, or are you talking about in your book?
I'm talking about the story where they found him on the rooftop.
Oh yeah. That was tough.
That was a good story. If y'all are not familiar with who Hillel is, I'm sure everyone knows who Gamaliel is.
I'm sure everyone knows who Paul is.
There we go. I'm sure everybody knows who Paul is. Yeah. But first, let me open up, giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua. I'm almost certain everybody knows who Paul is, right? Prominent brother in the scriptures. We've all heard of Paul, and Paul had a teacher besides Christ, right? I mean, one could argue Christ was a teacher, but that's not the case in this scenario, right? Paul's teacher is a man by the name of Gamaliel. Can you grab that in Acts?
Yep, I'm here.
You can go
bring up my screen. Alright. Okay, this new MacBook is making me do a few things. Hold up.
Get to it, brother.
Read. I was about to say, I can't just read it real quick. It's trying to make me do a lot of stuff.
Nah, you good, bro. Take your time.
Ooh, okay. So it's making me just go to my settings and allow certain things on the.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to do that at some point anyway.
You see what I'm saying?
I will knock it out. I'm making good ground right now on finding this story.
Okay, bad.
I think I am.
Jeez, please.
While we waiting for, all right, brother got kicked out. While we waiting for the brother to get back, I'm gonna recap what I said earlier. We are going over two prominent brothers. They're not literal brothers. They are elders in the truth. Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai. Hillel, his name is, praise, right? Just like we say in the Hebrew, halal, call halal, all praise to the Most High. His name is praise, right? Shammai, I believe we're all familiar with the Shammai. It is here, I believe.
Let's see if it works. If it don't, I'm chopped. Ooh, there she go. All right, I had the scripture all pulled up for you and everything. I gotta go back through here.
It's all good.
See, Acts 22. Yeah. I can even grab the blue letter on Gamaliel since I'm in this thing already. All right, you want me to bring it out now?
Yeah, anything.
All right, but this is the book of Acts chapter 22 and verse 3. It says, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in the city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers. Woo! And was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day. So Paul is saying, I'm for sure a Jew. I was born in Tarsus and Cilicia, but I was brought up and grew up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel. So Gamaliel was his teacher. And I was taught the perfect manner of the law of our forefathers, and was zealous. I was zealous towards Yahweh, just how y'all are to this day. So Paul talking his talk a little bit. So we're gonna learn about, before we teach you about Hillel and Shammai, we just want to go through the line so you can see who Hillel is, so we can show you why it's so important to know who. We're just showing you how you get back to Hillel. That's what I'm trying to say in simple terms. Because where did he come from? So let me show you what the blue letter has to say about Gamaliel. Let me zoom in on this. Gamaliel, his name means recompenser. My recompenser is God. It says Gamaliel is a Pharisee and celebrated doctor of the law. So he was nice with the law, with the Torah. He really liked that. It says, who gave prudent worldly advice in the Sanhedrin, respecting the treatment of the followers of Yahweh Shah of Nazareth. So our people, we had something called the Sanhedrin. If you was here in our last lesson, you've seen us talk about the Sanhedrin. It's a big council, right, of wise men who understood the law, who understood how the economy works, understood history, masters at the law, not just understood it, masters of the law. Some of them was even fluent in other people's religions. Some people were fluent in mathematics. Some people were fluent in science. Some people were fluent in other languages. They were bilingual. So you just had to be well learned and developed. You had to have much understanding. So he gave advice to the Sanhedrin in a particular matter concerning the followers of Yahweh Shah, like Peter and a couple of other apostles. They were finna go, I think they might have was finna go to jail because they was teaching, they was preaching about Jesus or Yahweh Shah. But Gamaliel stepped in and was like, you know what? Let them do their thing. If it's of Yahweh, it's going to stand. If it's not Yahweh, you're going to find yourself going against Yahweh. So he actually saved some of the apostles from that ill will and that mistreating. And then it gives you the precept. Then stood up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. So he kind of let them do their thing for a little bit. But he stood up and this is the key point right here. He had a reputation among all the people, and Gamaliel's reputation was good. He was well learned. Um, I'm gonna finish this out, and then we're gonna swing it to you. It says we learn from Acts 22:3 that he was the preceptor of Paul. He is generally identified with very celebrated Jewish Dr. Gamaliel, grandson of Hillel, and who is referred to as the authority in the Jewish Mishnah. So Gamaliel is a well-respected brother. He actually was dealing with the apostles of Hamashiach hands-on. And then you have Gamaliel's grandfather. His grandfather, Hillel. Why would it make mention of Hillel? Because Hillel is a very important figure. He was wise. Everyone knew Hillel. Hillel the elder. He was tough. So without further ado, I'm gonna swing that to you. You want me to pull up your screen?
Yes, sir. Hillel the elder. Very, very prominent, right? We're gonna start reading. Let me see. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Boom. Two great teachers, right? This is a history of the Jews, fair use. Two great teachers. There were many teachers, but the most important were Shammai and Hillel, contemporaries of King Herod. If you don't know what contemporary means, it means they lived during the same time period. Though friends, Shammai and Hillel were as different as any two human beings could possibly be in everything but their desire to make the Jews a godly people. Shammai was by nature irritable, severe, and conservative. Hillel was kindly, cheerful, and progressive. Tradition in numerous stories pictures Hillel as a rare human being, the ideal product of Pharisaic life. He laid the foundations of his vast learning in Babylonia, where he was born. When he was still a young man, Hillel was attracted to the school of Jerusalem by the fame of his great teachers. Stories tell of the suffering and hardships which, as a poor boy alone in the large city, Hillel had to undergo in order to continue his studies. In the end, his ability was recognized, and Hillel concluded his long life as the pride of Jewish scholarship, the leader of a most famous school and honored head of the Sanhedrin. The difference between him and his friendly rival, Shammai, is reflected in the famous story about the heathen who tried to sport of Jewish life, knowing that Judaism, as taught by the Pharisees, was hedged in by numerous regulations. This heathen appeared before Shammai and offered to become a Jew if the famous teacher could explain Judaism, while the questionnaire stood on one leg without getting tired. So, all of that I just read, we're gonna go into and we're gonna talk about, right? It's gonna be brought out sparsely through this lesson, right? But we are gonna talk about this point right here. A man came to them, I believe it was a Roman. He came to him, a heathen. Is this heathen an ethnic heathen or a heathen that's a Jew? Don't know. Who's to tell, right? But it says this heathen appeared before Shammai. Mind you, this is before Christ. This is before Christ, right? This is the grandfather of Gamaliel, Paul's teacher. This is before Christ. It says, this heathen appeared before Shammai and offered to become a Jew if the famous teacher could explain Judaism, while the questionnaire stood on one leg without getting tired. So he went to Shammai and said, explain Judaism while I stand on one leg, and I would become a Jew if you can do it before I get tired. It says, Shammai, highly incensed, drove the scoffer out of his house. The heathen made the same offer to Hillel. Shammai is a more strict man. He's more severe. Shammai is a lot younger than Hillel. A lot younger. But don't get it wrong. Shammai is a very wise brother. He is a very wise brother. We're going to get into that here momentarily. But the same man went to Hillel. Let's see what Hillel did. The heathen made the same offer to Hillel. Hillel smilingly replied that this request could be complied with easily. Well, that this request could be complied with easily. All of Judaism, Hillel said, was contained in the brief verse of the Bible, Leviticus 19:18, which reads, "Thou shalt love thy fellow as thyself." And all the other laws and regulations of Judaism were merely extensions of this one. So he got him. He then said, "Explain Judaism to me." Hillel smiled. Oh, that's easy. It's easy. All the law is compiled into love thy neighbor as thyself. Everything else is just an explanation.
And you
else is explaining it.
You said that Hillel said this before Christ hit the scene?
Was before Christ hit the scene. This was before Christ hit the scene. This is what he said.
Some people might not be connecting certain dots. Why is that? Why do we keep saying that? What's the importance of that? Can you make a connection to that?
The importance is a lot of people think Christ came and taught something that was new. They thought, it's a new law that Christ gave, which was love. No, it was new because the Pharisees, these people, they always thought it was just a religious thing, and it was this and it was that, and it was never about loving thy neighbor, and no, that's not the case. Hillel is explaining that very simply, very easily, very eloquently, and he's being very practical with the law, just as Christ was very practical with the law. The whole thing, the whole end all of the matter, love thy neighbor as thyself. What happened with the heathen? Deeply impressed, the heathen became serious, and according to the story, actually became a Jew. That's what happened. There's a lot of things that Hillel says that we're going to go over. There's a lot of things that he says that's eye-openers. You can see that Hillel saw and understood the spirit behind the law. He understood those things. It wasn't just a letter of the law to him. It wasn't just pen to paper. No, he was like, okay, this is all explained to love thy neighbor. This law is here for us to show us to love thy neighbor. It's simple.
And you could tell he was meditating in the law.
He was meditating. Something that Irenaeus teaches us is very necessary. If you're not meditating in the law, you're unclean. That's what Irenaeus taught. That's what he said. You got to chew the cud and be cloven-footed. Chewing the cud is meditating. That's eating the word and meditate. This is why we need our forefathers. You see how Chris they coming through with the understanding?
This is why we need to honor the elders.
This is why we need to honor the elders. The understanding is coming through so crisp, right? It says, the points of view of both Shammai and Hillel found many adherents in that the subsequent generations, for several centuries, the followers of Shammai and the followers of Hillel engaged in earnest argument, which occasionally even led to bitterness and hostility. Finally, the Hillelites prevailed. Even if his ideas had not won the minds of the Jewish people, Hillel's personality would have won their hearts. Through the long history of the Jewish people, he represented the ideal Jew, combining kindliness with scholarship, simple piety with profound thought. This was Hillel. It's a reason. It's they go by the house of Hillel and then the house of Shammai. Right? We're just gonna get into it. Actually, I'm not even gonna break it down before we get into it.
Hillel had that ideal elder energy.
Good, kindly, loving, compassion, good spirited.
Yeah. Much scholarship.
Much Scholarship.
Simplicity. If he give you something deep, he can make it real simple.
That's a fact.
Some people be too deep and they can't even bring it out.
He said they can't even bring it out. First, let's go to the Wikipedia on Hillel. Get some simple reading. It says he came from Babylon to Israel, although he was a descendant from David. His descendant Judah Hadnasi traced his lineage through both female lineage of the tribe of Benjamin and the family of David. When Josephus speaks of Hillel's great-grandson, Rabban Shimon ben Gamaliel I, as belonging to a very celebrated family, he refers to the glory of the family owed to the activity of Hillel and Rabban Gamaliel Hazakin. Only Hillel's brother Shibna is mentioned. He was a merchant, whereas Hillel devoted himself to studying the Torah, while also working as a woodcutter. So Hillel, his family is famed because of his works and what he did. It was famed because of his wisdom. It was famed because of his kindliness. It was famed because of his piousness towards the Most High, his deep devotion to studying the Torah, right? It says Hillel lived in Jerusalem during the time of King Herod and the Roman Emperor Augustus. In the Midrash compilation Shifri, the periods of Hillel's life are made parallel to those of the life of Moses. At the age of 40, Hillel went to the land of Israel. 40 years he spent in study, and the last third of his life, he was the spiritual head of the Jewish people, right? So they made a comparison with the life of Moses, because when you go back to the Torah, you'll read about the life of Moses, and it's broken up into periods of 40, right? Why? I don't know. That's just what it is. I'm going to keep reading. I can't even say this word right.
You can't zoom in just a little bit.
Yeah. Biographical. Is that the word? Let's see where I was at.
Read, brother.
I know. All right, I don't need to read that. According to the Mishnah, Hillel went to Jerusalem with the intent of studying biblical exposition and tradition at the age of 40 in 70 BC, before Christ. The difficulties Hillel had to overcome to gain admittance to the school of Shammai and Abtilian, and hardships he suffered while pursuing his aim, are told in the Talmud. So we're going to stop right here and read about his hardships to get into the school of Shammai and Abtilian. These are also two prominent elders, right? We're going to go over here real quick. This is stuff you got. This is studying. This is reading. This is learning, right? You got to get into the sources to figure out about the elders. Where is it at? Boom, right here. Let me zoom in on this one. It says, we discovered to our delight more stories and sayings of Hillel and Shammai in the book of Legends, a handy one-volume recitation of some key moral teachings from the Talmud and Mishnah. Hillel the elder, when he was a student, did not earn much, and he gave half of what he earned to the watchman at the house of study to listen to the teachings of Shammai and Abtilian. What he did earn, he gave half to the watchman to listen and study their teachings of the Torah.
Quick point.
Go ahead.
We have a group, or we have a camp called the Watchmen of Israel. So when I seen it, I'm like, man, the same spirit out here on the earth. You had a group of brothers, like a school of brothers, and they was called the Watchmen. That's tough.
That's hot. That's hot. Same spirit it was back then is still on this earth today, right? He gave half of what he earned to go listen and study. It says, and mind you, teaching the scriptures was a work. That was a school. That was where you learn. If you go to law school today, you learn about the law. Guess what? You got to pay. That's just the fact. You got to pay, right? You don't receive something for nothing. That's just how it is.
It's a lot.
Something has to come at a cost. You want heat and warmth. You have to give up wood. Go ahead.
That's a good breakdown right there. The work that y'all see predominantly on YouTube by all of these different camps, all of these different brothers, they do it out of sheer kindness and love of the Most High and love for their people. Y'all not paying for breakdowns. Even Paul teach you. Most of the apostles, when they did work, they was getting recompense. They was getting money for it.
Mm-hmm.
Paul really wasn't, but most of the other apostles was. All of these different schools, Aharon said it plain this day. Here in America, you go to a school, you got to pay. You go to college, you got to pay. You learn something, you got to pay. Y'all really need to appreciate the brothers that's really pushing this word out week in and week out, because it is a beautiful work and they do it out of sheer kindness. Like brothers got families, brothers devote their time every weekend without fail, throughout the week, without fail, to drop information and teach their people. And guess what they get in return? People running their mouth, talking crazy to them. The elders, they doing breakdowns for years. What they get? Some weirdo who came in the truth yesterday, jumping down his throat over a misword he said or pronounced. Like, come on, bro. We've been doing this for multiple years. You got to calm down, bro. Got to calm down and respect the work that brothers is doing for free. I yield.
For free, for zilch, right? For nothing. Not literally for nothing, but as in payment, carnality money, it's for nothing. Whereas everywhere you go, even back in the day, you had to pay. It's what it was, right? Because you're learning. You're learning, right? Even this information we go into, a lot of brothers y'all not opening these books. Just keep it a stack. You ain't opening these books. You're not going into the history. You're not cracking open a history book. Me and Mahar got some information coming on later on down the line about the Inquisition.
Yeah.
Brothers ain't opening books. Books cost money. Books cost money. I'm sitting there listening. I'm listening and watching Ram Gadal go over some stuff. I look up the book they got is $200, $300. These books are not cheap. Brothers spending money though, right? Brother Ymir, Shalom King.
Shalom King.
Now, going into it, it says once he was out of work, he had nothing to give to the watchman who would not let him in to study. So he climbed onto the roof to listen to the lessons through the skylight. This was done this day. It's like it. This day was Sabbath Eve in the winter solstice, and it snowed. Our people do not celebrate the winter solstice. They're just using this to describe the time period. It was winter. Shalom Avshtahawam.
Shalom.
It was winter time. So he climbed to the roof in the winter outside to listen because he couldn't pay. He couldn't pay.
Couldn't pay to get in, man.
Still got to get this word, though.
Still got to get that word.
Got to get the word. It says when the dawn rose.
You got to imagine the breakdown the brothers had inside of there, bro. They had good word, understanding, going out hot.
Yeah.
If I got to get on the roof, I'm dying to hear it. That these brothers know. They got it. They got something.
They got word, right?
Hey, we need to get that thirsty for the word where you climb, hit the roof, you on some hot in there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's winter.
It's winter.
It's snow. It's cold out here.
Yeah. It says when the dawn arose, Shammai said to Eftilion, every day this house is bright with light, but today it is dark. Is the day cloudy? So they like, what's going on? It's always bright in here. You know, they didn't have light fixtures, right? They had candles and they had good artisan work to where they can use the sunlight to create light in the space, right? And whatever they built in whatever building they're at, they can use the sunlight and it creates some light. So, you know, on this day, they're like, it's dark. What's going on? It says, They climbed the roof and found Hillel covered in 3 cubits of snow. They removed the snow, bathed and anointed him, and said, and as they seated him in front of an open fire, they said, this man deserves to have the Sabbath profaned on his behalf, since the Sabbath can be broken to save a human life. This is before Christ. This is the doctrine they coming with.
Ooh, that's mighty tough.
This the doctrine they coming. They seen him up there. They like, dang. This brother, we know him. This is Hillel. He couldn't pay to get in. Man, come on, grab him. They grabbed him, put him on his back, went down there, got the fire going for him. They said, for this man deserves to have the Sabbath profaned on his behalf. Do they literally mean profaned and disdain and again? No. They saying it is okay. The Sabbath can be broken, quote unquote, broken to save a human life. Why? The law was given to love thy neighbor as thyself. This is what it's about. This is practicality in the law. These men didn't say he's got to sit here and be cold. There's nothing we can do. The law specifically says this. Nope, we can't do it. I will not become a transgressor. They didn't do that. They used practicality. They used kindness and love and saved this man's life, who later on became one of the most famous men in our religion. Hillel is very known in our religion. We don't know about him, but in the Mishnah during that time, very famous.
He was infamous.
Infamous, bro. He was large.
Big brother.
Elder. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Elder Hillel.
Elder Hillel. Let me see. Let me go back.
Ooh, they're going to war with his wife.
I know. Stop reading, brother.
Come on now,
reading,
brother.
Come
on now, brother.
I don't do all that yet. I'm watching you, bro. I'm watching you.
Wait, you gonna read that one now?
Of course. Of course.
I want my wife to hear how cold he is.
He nice. Shalom, Hebrew daughter. Shalom. Let's keep reading. It says, sometime later, Hillel succeeded in settling a question concerning the sacrificial ritual in a manner that showed his superiority over Benai Bathra. What is this? Oh, okay. Some sages, I believe, during that time. It says, who were at that time the heads of the Sanhedrin. On that occasion, it is narrated they voluntarily resigned their position as Nasi, or prince of the Sanhedrin, in favor of Hillel. After their resignation, Hillel was recognized as the highest authority among Pharisees. Hillel was the head of the great school associated at first with Menachem the Essene. It says Menachem the Essene was a Jewish Tana sage living during the era of Zagat. It says, and later with Shammai, Hillel's peer in teaching of the Jewish law. So Hillel got into a quote unquote religious dispute about sacrifices. Right? Let me see if I can find that. I remember reading it. Let me see. There it is, tab. And I'm going to break it down as best as I could. Boom, here we go. It says let me zoom in. My breakdown can definitely be off on this, but it's all good, right? I believe I'm surrounded around brothers that show mercy. That's what I like to believe. I don't know, though. Soldier Cameron would kill me if he could. You know what I mean?
Don't mess up, brother.
You know what I mean? Soldier Cameron would kill me if he could. You know, I'm just kidding. Let's read. The tradition surrounding Hillel's appointment to the office of Nasi deserved special attention. It says, I believe this in the Mishnah, tells that on one occasion, Passover fell on a Sabbath. And they asked Hillel the elder if the offering of the Paschal lamb overrode the Sabbath or not. Does the Passover lamb sacrifice override the Sabbath? Yes or no? It says, according to this Tosefta, Hillel responded somewhat cryptically. Is there only one Paschal offering which overrides the Sabbath every year? Are there not more than 300 Paschal offerings each year which override the Sabbath? We are then told that all those present in the temple courtyard descended upon him. Hillel apparently was referring to the daily sacrifice, which regularly overrides the Sabbath. So he cut them. Hold on, are there not 300? What are we talking about? There's a daily sacrifice that goes on all the daily. We offer those on the Sabbath day. It says he then proceeded to present no fewer than four different legal justifications for his ruling. The first three justifications based the ruling in the case of the Paschal offering on a legal precedent, the daily sacrifice. All three involve some form of legal reasoning, and the last two seem to use apparently standard Canadian hermeneutical techniques for the exposition of Scripture. The fourth justification consists of an appeal to accept the religious authority. Moreover, I received an explicit tradition from my teachers that the Paschal offering overrides the Sabbath. After a brief side discussion, the Tifna concluded, the Tosefta concludes, on that very day they appointed Hillel as Nasi, and he instructed them in the laws of the Passover. This is how he got his seat. He had to get his seat through wisdom, through his understanding of Torah. The questions we be having today, a lot of our elders already questioned them. They was already ahead of the curve. Hold on, do we? But it's the Sabbath. Can we offer the Passover lamb on the Sabbath? That'll be breaking the Sabbath. Hillel, like, hold on. Y'all getting too deep. Is there not a sacrifice every day that we do? Do we not light the candles upon the Sabbath day? Do we not do these things on the Sabbath day? Do we not do this? Do we not do that? He's offering practical wisdom on how to deal. This is when Christ came and hit the scene and said, the Sabbath was made for man. It was made for you. Christ came with practical wisdom. Let's all just, hold on, let's look at the law. This is what it says. This is what it's going into. All of these things he understood, right? Let me see. I don't think I want to get that. Okay, boom. This is a part that I do want to read, but we're not going to read it right now. That is a part that I do want to read. I think we're done here. Let's get some disputes between Hillel and Shammai. Tree of the field. What pleasures are lawful on the Sabbath? I think you're.
He quoting Isaiah.
Yeah. I think you're conflating that with Isaiah. What Isaiah is talking about is the Day of Atonement. That's going over the Day of Atonement. It's not, which is a Sabbath, right? It is a Sabbath. It is a rest day. Day of Atonement is a rest day. But on that Day of Atonement, you are not supposed to be taken into your pleasures, right?
Afflict yourself.
It is a day of recompense, a day of letting free, right? And it falls on the what is it called? Jubilee, right? It is not talking about the weekly Sabbath, or if you're a moon keeper, it's not talking about that Sabbath day. Let's get back to this. Halitic, no, my bad. Let me share this one. Hillelic disputes. Only 3, or according to some authorities, 5 disputes are recorded between Hillel and Shammai themselves. So there's only about 3 or 5 disputes Hillel and Shammai had. Hillel and Shammai agreed on a lot of things, but they disagreed on a few things, right? A lot of disputes come from their disciples, from the people that learned from them, right? It says, however, with time, the differences between their respective schools multiplied to the point that hundreds of disputes between them are recorded in the Talmud. The split between them was so deep, according to the Talmud, the Torah became like 2 Torahs, right? Because you have different schools of thoughts. It says the matters they debated included admission of Torah only. Be it Shammai believed only worthy students should be admitted to study Torah. Be it Hillel believed that Torah may be taught to anyone in the expectation that they will repent and become worthy. That's one. White lies. Whether one should tell an ugly bride she is beautiful, be it Shammai said it is wrong to tell a lie. And be it Hillel said that all brides are beautiful on the wedding day. Let's grab that story. Let's grab that story, right? We read this the other day. Boom, right here. It says this is another story where Hillel wants to see beauty in all new brides, right? It says our masters taught, how does one praise a bride while dancing attendance upon her? The school of Shammai says, describe the bride as she is. The school of Hillel says, describe the bride as beautiful and full of grace. The school of Shammai retorted to the school of Hillel, but suppose she is lame or blind. Is one to say, oh, bride, beautiful and full of grace, seeing that the scripture declares, keep far from a false word? The school of Shammai is very strict. If you say she's beautiful and she's not beautiful, you're a liar. That's a lie. And the Torah says we cannot lie. That's off. Let's see what the school of Hillel says. Hey, the school of Shammai, whenever you go and study these things, the scholars that came after these men, they both concluded that the school of Shammai's side is justified and the school of Hillel's side is justified. They both were justified in their reasonings. They were both justified. I mean, damn. It does say this, but then you look over here at Hillel, that is the spirit of it. They're both correct. It's hard to deal with. Let's read. The school of Hillel replied to the school of Shammai, in your opinion, if a man has made a bad purchase in the marketplace, should a friend praise it or belittle it? They pose an example. If you were to purchase something in the marketplace, are you to praise it or belittle it? Surely he should praise it to his face. Hence, the sages inferred that a man should always endeavor to be pleasant to other people. You made a purchase. It may have not been the best purchase, but now it's yours, and you are to praise it because it is pleasant. So the school Hillel says you are to praise the bride and show her in beautiful and full of grace whenever she's attending her marriage. That's that. And that's not a lie. It's a beautiful thing. But the school of Shammai, they're like, no, you describe her exactly how she is. If she's pleasant, she's pleasant. If she's not, she's not. And we leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of brothers that can't cook up with Shammai and Hillel. I ain't gonna hold you. They ain't ready. You can't cook with them, bro. They too hard, too mighty. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Let me get back to this. Boom. Divorce. Be it Shammai held that a man may divorce his wife for only a serious transgression. It says, but be it Hillel allowed divorce to even trivial offenses such as burning a meal. I wouldn't even know that. Oh shoot, hold on. Double click something. You would think Hillel would be on the side of what is it? Only for serious transgressions. But in this case, he said, hey, no, if she burnt the meal, nah, though. She can get out of there. Right? Which Christ later came on and rectified. It says Hanukkah. Shammai held that on the first night, 8 lights should be lit, and then 1 should decrease the number on each successive night, ending with 1 on the last night. In contrast, Hillel held that 1 should start with 1 light and increase the number on each night, ending with 8. Hillel's rationale is that, as general rule in halakha, one increases holiness rather than decreasing. Shammai's opinion was based on the Hillelic principle that allows one to derive law using similarities. The Sukkot temple sacrifices involve 70 bullocks, reducing by 1 each day from 13 down to 7. These guys had breakdowns. Hillel, like, look, whenever it's Hanukkah, we are to light 1 candle and then light them all the way up each day until day 8. That is showing the increasedness of holiness. Shammai, like, no. Whenever we go to the temple work and we have bullocks, it decreases. And they breakdowns from the Torah. This is mighty work.
Brothers is too deep.
We ain't even got deep. Let me get over here, right? We're just going over, if you're just now tuning in, we're going over 2 elders, Hillel and Shammai, our forefathers. These men were very prominent. These men changed a lot of the ways brothers think during this time, right? They were very prominent, very, very prominent. Okay, let me see. Let's grab some of his sayings, because it's going to mention these sayings here in a minute. One of Hillel's sayings: that which is hateful to you, do not to your fellow. This is the entire Torah, and the rest is commentary. Now go and study. Right? Quick, easy. Right? Let me see. I want to grab something that was prominent. That one was prominent. Let me see. Be a disciple of Aaron, a lover of peace. And when he says a disciple of Aaron, is a disciple of the law, a disciple of the Levites. Be a disciple of Aaron, a lover of peace, a pursuer of peace, one who loves the creatures and draws them close to Torah. This is what he was about. Draw them close to Torah. It says, do not judge your friend until you have stood in his place. That's hot. And do not believe in yourself until the day you die. I don't know what this last part is, but do not judge your friend until you have stood in his place. That's going into understanding. That's going into being considerate. That's being considerate. Hold on, don't just be quick to judge him. Do you know how he ended up here? Do you know how he got here? What happened?
Right.
And they got the Mishnah precepts right here. But it says, you drown because you drowned others, and those who you drown will eventually drown you. And he said this to a floating skull that belonged to a murderer. You drowned because you drowned others. And guess what? This is going back to the law. First off, the Most High says he likes his judgment unto a ring, which means what goes around comes around, right? But he actually is referencing the law. Genesis 9:5. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of every man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For the image of God made he man. So if you shed man's blood, that's what's going to happen to you. Hillel put it very beautifully right here, right? The soul is a guest in the body, here today and gone tomorrow. And now I want to get to over here. It says Hillel's ethical religious teachings have been preserved in a series of proverbs, some in Hebrew and some in Aramaic, such as, he who magnifies his name destroys it, and he who does not increase his knowledge decreases it, and he who does not study deserves to die, and he who makes worldly use of the crown of Torah shall waste away. The belief in reward and punishment is expressed in the statement, he saw a skull floating on the surface of the water and said to it, because you drowned someone, you will be drowned. And the end of those who drown you will be that they will be drowned. It says later sources present Hillel quoting scriptural verses which he used as proverbs. Thus, on occasion, when he heard a loud cry on entering the city, he expressed his confidence that it did not proceed from his house by quoting, he shall not fear any evil, and he shall not fear an evil report. And once when he deferred from his colleague Shammai, who was in the habit of making provision for the Sabbath from the beginning of the week, he quoted the verse, blessed be the Lord day by day. When he wished to explain to his disciples the importance of personal cleanliness, he resorted to the language of the paradox interspersed with proverbs. When he took leave of his students, he used to go off for a walk. His student asked him, where are you walking to? He answered, to perform a meritorious deed. A meritorious deed is something that has merit, a good work to it. He was walking off. His students asked, where do you go? He said, to perform a meritorious deed. They said unto him, what is the deed? And he said to them, to take a bath in the bathhouse. They said to him, and this is a meritorious deed? He answered, it is. If the statues erected to kings in the theaters and circuses are washed and scrubbed by those in charge of them, how much more should we who have been created in his image and likeness take care of our bodies, as it is written, for in the image of God made he man. So what he's saying is men take care of statues of kings, theaters, circuses. They watch these and they watch that. But how much more our bodies, which our soul resides in, our bodies, which are made in the likeness of God. Why shouldn't I? I'm gonna take care of this. And we see this becoming so prominent. Hillel was so influential. They took his sayings over the word of God sometimes. How do we see that? They said to Christ, you don't wash your hands before you eat. He said, what? You hold on. You break the laws of God and to keep the laws of man. They started to hold the laws of man, Hillel and Shammai, over the laws of God, when Hillel and Shammai kept the law. These were extras, but they kept the law. Hillel and Shammai kept the law. We gonna go to where Shammai was so eager about the law.
So zealous
about the law, 10 toes down. But Hillel was so influential, they took what he said. They were rocking with what he said and put off the keeping of God's commandments. That's not Hillel's fault. Hillel was speaking wisdom here. Hillel not going off right here. Let's keep reading because it's almost done right here. It says another version of the story runs, Rabbi, where are you going to? To which he answered, to do a charitable deed for a guest in my house. And they said to him, does this guest stay with you every day? He answered, this poor soul. Is it not a guest in the body, here today and gone tomorrow? Is it here today and gone tomorrow?
Break that down, like they could have missed it.
The soul is staying in this house, in this body. He's finna go take care of his guest. He's finna go take care of the soul. By
Where you going?
yeah.
Rabbi, where you going? He said, I'm finna go take care of a guest. Who? Yeah, the soul is a guest in my body. I'm gonna go take care of him. That's tough.
He was hot. Said the personality of Hillel, in which wisdom was combined with righteousness and humility with simplicity, became a model of conduct for subsequent generations. The changes he brought about in his day with respect to the study of the Torah and methods of promulgating legal decisions caused him to be compared with Ezra, who, like him, came from Babylon and reestablished the Torah. Lavish praise was also showered on his disciples. Hillel the elder had 80 students. 30 of them were worthy that the Shekinah should rest upon them, like Moses, our teacher. 30 that the sun should stand still for them, as it did for Joshua the son of Nun. 20 were average. The greatest among them was Jonathan b. Uziel, and the least among them, Rabban Jonathan b. Zakkai. So, real prominent brothers. Let's see. I want to get back to here. Share this tab. Let's see.
Which one you finna go to?
The one with the woman.
Finally, bro. Talking about his wife?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Finally, bro.
Whatever, bro. All right. It says there are several stories that teach us how to bring out the best rather than the worst in those whose lives we touch. Once Hillel's wife had finished preparing a meal for Hillel and the guest, when a poor man came by, stood at Hillel's doorway and said, I am scheduled to marry today and have no provisions whatsoever. Hearing that, Hillel's wife took an entire meal and gave it to the poor man. Then she kneaded fresh dough and cooked another pot of stew. And when it was ready, placed it before Hillel and his guest. Hillel asked, my dear, why did you not bring it out sooner? She told him what had happened. He said, my dear, in asking about the delay, I meant not to judge you, not on the scale of guilt, but on the scale of merit, because I was certain that everything you did for the sake of heaven.
He hard.
It was hard. He said, I didn't ask you this on the scale of guilt, but on the scale of merit. For certainly, I know this. If let's put it in perspective, that's like it's like me with Mahar, and instead of me getting on to him about something, like let's just say he did, let's say he did two videos a week, right? Let's just say he did 2 videos a week, and he did them, and they were only 30 minutes apiece. And I say to him, why weren't they longer? And he may come to me and be like, well, X, Y, and Z. And I'll be like, I wasn't asking to judge you, but I was asking because I know you do it for the Most High. That's going to put it in his head. I do this for the Most High. I should make the videos longer because I am doing it about God. That's what he did with his wife. He made her think a more positive thing instead of judging. He said, I know you do it for the sake of heaven, for the sake of the Most High. That's why I asked why you didn't have it sooner. If it was for the sake of the Most High, you would be on it. He didn't cut her like that, though. He just cut her in wisdom. He cut her while passing her up. Cut her with a healing sword.
Hey, why you ain't get it out sooner? That sound like you gassing me up. Like, damn, I'm moving that slow. Like,
Mhm.
She started bringing forth a reason because this and we didn't have this and I needed to make the dough and it got a rot. He's like, hold on, I wasn't even like that. I wasn't even gassing you up. I wasn't firing you up. I only asked that because I know that you do all of these things for the Most High out of merit. You know, the host of heaven was watching you. You know what I'm saying? I know you.
I
You
know
know what I'm
you
saying?
want it. You know,
I know that. I know that.
I know that.
Master master builder. You hear me?
Master builder.
That's
Master.
a small. That's a small. Like it tell you in the book of Sirach that all rebuke is not comely. It tell you that. But that just means that there's some rebukes that is comely.
Yeah, it is.
Some brothers don't know how to talk to people normal and have they desired result. You don't know how many times we gave counsel and correction and rebuke to a brother, and they took it with cheerfulness and gladness of heart and was like, "I appreciate y'all."
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Work on that. It's a skill.
great skill. Right?
You should work on not offending somebody when you giving them advice or counsel. Sometimes it's necessary though, but sometimes it's not.
For sure. We're gonna get over to this Shammai, right? It says Shammai, also known as Shammai the Elder, was a Jewish scholar of the first century and an important figure in Judaism's core work of rabbinic literature, the Mishnah. Shammai was the most eminent contemporary of the sage and scholar Hillel. His teachings mostly agree with those of Hillel, except on three issues. Both were divided over an early rabbinic dispute regarding the actual laying on of hands upon sacrificial animal on a fit festival day, which Hillel permitted. Their disciples, who had differing views to their masters, disputed many other halakhic matters. The school of Shammai, founded by Shammai, is almost invariably mentioned along with the school of Hillel, founded by Hillel. They differed fundamentally from each other, Although they were contemporaries, Hillel was nearly 60 years old at the time of Shammai's birth. This is just to let you know Shammai wasn't nothing to play with. Hillel got 60 years on Shammai, but Shammai coming with bag.
Most High put a spirit on him.
He coming with wisdom. He was hard. He was tough. You couldn't gainsay. Like I said, you can't gainsay either side. When I said earlier, if you heard Shammai and his reasoning, it was justified. And if you heard Hillel's reasoning, it was justified. You're stuck. You just got to pick which one you're rocking with. That was with a lot of cases. Let's keep reading. It says, while the terms liberal and conservative may not perfectly capture the nuances of their positions, Hillel is generally considered to have been more lenient or flexible in his interpretations of Jewish law compared to Shammai. For instance, in matters such as divorce and Sabbath observance, Hillel often took a more permissive approach, emphasizing compassion and practicality. On the other hand, Shammai tended to be more stringent in his interpretations, prioritizing strict adherence to the law. All right. Let me see if I want to read this.
Bro, give me the one with Shammai and his grandson, bro.
It's in here. No, it's in here. It's in here.
All right.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to read this a little bit. Shammai, along with Hillel, his contemporary, took an oversight of the Sanhedrin sometime after Abtilian and Shemaiah relinquished power. Shammai's school of thought became known as the House of Shammai, as Hillel's was known as the House of Hillel. After Menachem, the Essene resigned from the office of Avbeit Din, or vice president of the Sanhedrin, Shammai was elected to it, Hillel being, at the time, Nasi, the president. That's hard. That's hard. You got Hillel and Shammai on the... That's crazy work. Not gonna hold you. That's crazy work. You got Hillel as president, quote unquote. You know, we didn't have presidents, but you know, the top guy, and then you got Hillel right under him. Oh, I know those councils was beefy. It ain't nothing you can say. It says after Hillel died circa 10 CE or 10 AD, Shammai took his place as president, but not vice president from the minority was elected so that the school of Shammai attained complete ascendancy. During this time, Shammai passed 18 ordinances in conformity with his ideas. The Talmud states that when he passed one of the ordinances, contrary to the opinion of Hillel, the day was grievous to Israel as the day when the golden calf was made. That's tough. According to most opinions, the ordinances which were listed in an appendix to the Art Scroll edition of the Mishnah of Tractate Shabbos dealt with ritual purity of the Tumorah and increased separation between the Jews and Gentiles. Tumorah, priestly duty.
Shammai wasn't dealing with him, bro.
Shammai wasn't done. Hell no.
Man, he changed some. He came with some ordinances. Israel was sad. They was, you know.
Yeah.
Hillel gone. Making ordinances. It was sad, bro.
Shammai like, nah, y'all gotta keep the law, bro. Y'all gotta keep the law, bro.
I gotta go forth.
Law gotta go forth, bro. It says Hillel's grandson Gamaliel succeeded to the position of president after Shammai in BCE, but the Sanhedrin remained dominated by the house of Shammai until 70 CE or AD. A voice from heaven was said to have nullified the legality of the ruling of the house of Shammai, which is why rabbinic Judaism was followed Hillel. Or has followed Hillel. Shammai took an active part in political and religious complications of his native land. Of a stern temperament, he cultivated the characteristics of firmness and strictness in the law, in contrast to the tireless patience which is said to have distinguished Hillel's approach. Once, when a Gentile came to him and asked him to be converted to Judaism, upon the condition of extreme brevity on one foot, which Shammai held to be impossible, he drove the brazen applicant away, whereas Hillel rebuked him gently by saying, what is hateful to you, do not to your fellow. This is the whole Torah. The rest is the explanation. Go and learn. The Gentiles subsequently converted. So Shammai thought it impossible. How can I explain Judaism? There's so much. There's so much. You got this law, you got this, you got this, you got to do this, you got to do this. He found himself angered. Get out of here. Get out. Wasn't the same with Hillel. Easy. The law, the love thy neighbor as thyself. Same thing that Christ said. Law and the prophets. Love thy neighbor as thyself. This is the whole law. On the law hold these two things. What's the greatest of the law? These two things. Love God, love thy neighbor. Real practical. Now here we go. Shammai recommended a friendly attitude toward all. His motto was, make your study of the Torah a permanent endeavor. Speak little, but accomplish much. This is what Jake need. Let me highlight that. Jake need this. Speak little, but accomplish much. And receive every man with a cheerful disposition. He was modest even towards his pupils. At a personal level, Shammai's religious views were known to be strict. He wished to make his son, while still a child, conform to the law regarding fasting on Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. He was on that. Mind you, this is letting you know our people weren't really doing that. A babe, he don't got to fast on the Day of Atonement. You know, it was practical. You got to fast on the Day of Atonement. Shammai, shoot.
What the law say?
Hey, little buddy. Hey, little buddy. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
The law say everybody in Israel got to fast.
That's what it say. We just finna handle that, though. It says he was dissuaded from his purpose only. I don't know if I said that right. Dissuaded. Dissuaded, maybe. He was dissuaded from his purpose only through the intention and insistence of his friends.
So basically, okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you was gonna touch on the same thing. I thought like, don't do that, bro.
Yeah. Some counsel came here like, bro, he don't got to fast.
He don't got. He's like 3 days old.
He like, all right, bro. If y'all say so, but I don't know. Next year for sure.
You ain't telling me this when he a year old, bro. I ain't dealing with that, bro. It says once when his daughter-in-law gave birth to a boy on Sukkot, which is a Feast of Tabernacles, he broke forth. He broke through the roof of the chamber in which she lay in order to make a sukkah of it. That his newborn grandchild might fulfill the religious obligations of the festival. A sukkah is a booth. So as soon as she gave birth, he jumped in there. Made a sukkah. Made a booth. Sticks, wood, beam. What's that called? Sheets.
Tabernacle.
Made a good tabernacle for the goodly child. Hey, you gonna keep tabernacles, bro. This is how hard he was. Like, we gonna keep this law though. We gonna keep this law though. That's just what it is. That's just what it is.
Hey, you can say he crazy, bugged out, all of that if you want to. But his zeal for the Most High, his love for Torah is admirable.
Yep. A lot of brothers can't stand with him, bro. Try to gainsay against him. Watch you get knocked down. You ain't Hillel. You ain't finna have what Hillel had. You ain't got bag like that.
He got good black and white.
And Christ wasn't on the scene. Try fighting Shammai and Christ ain't there.
You ain't got none of that.
Don't go to Matthew 5. Don't go to where Christ talking about this and practicality and but it's about this. But don't go. No.
It's before that.
You got the Tanakh. You got the Tanakh. Argue against Shammai. Watch you get worked up. You'll be a laughing stock in the land. That's how hard he was on keeping the Most High God's laws, statutes, and commandments. He went hard for the Most High. Both of the brothers did. Very admirable.
Tough.
Hillel said, a man who does not study deserves to die. That's how he was on it like that. Hey, if you ain't using it, you losing it, bro. Simple and plain.
Y'all got to remember, Hillel taught his grandson, Gamaliel, and Gamaliel taught Paul.
Yep.
You got to know. There's schools of thoughts going on in the land. It's way more politics than you think. It's a lot going on.
It's a whole lot going on. Here goes another comparison between Hillel and Christ, because it's a lot of comparisons made between Hillel and Christ.
Yeah, said this making me want to. Maybe he's one of Nehemiah, a couple of brothers. Oh, slap a couple of brothers. I didn't know what he was saying at first.
I didn't either until you read it out loud.
Yeah.
It says Hillel warns us against the dangers of envy and extols the study of Torah. Hillel used to say, the more flesh, the more worms. The more property, the more anxiety. The more wives, the more witchcraft. The more bondwomen, the more lewdness. The more slaves, the more thievery. On the other hand, the more study of Torah, the more life. The more sitting down to study and complicate or and contemplate, the more wisdom. The more counsel, the more understanding. The more charity, the more peace. He who has acquired a good name has acquired something that, unlike property, remains his own. He who has acquired words of Torah has acquired for himself life in the world to come. Beefy understanding. He coming with good wisdom. It says, this reminds me of the parable of the rich fool told by Jesus. The land of a rich man brought forth plentiful, And he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there will I store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is he who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. Hillel on the same kind of time.
Hey, can you zoom in on that that one that Hillel?
Yep.
I want to dang.
My bad.
Let me see your phone. All right, go. Can you get my phone, please? I want to take a picture of it.
I got it in blue. You want me to keep it in blue?
Yeah, keep it in blue, Bobby Shaw. That'd be great.
Yep. Yep. Real good work. Store up your treasures in heaven, man. Is he saying it? Don't get me wrong. Is Hillel out here saying be broke? No.
Yes.
No, he's not saying that. But it's more to this life than things, right? It says,
ooh, it says the more wives, the more witchcraft. That's low key letting you know that we have multiple wives too.
He said that's low key letting you know that.
You can see it.
You can see it. This last thing we're gonna read. Hillel used to say, an empty-headed person does not dread sin. An ignorant person cannot be pious. A bashful person cannot learn. An irritable person cannot teach. And someone engrossed in trade cannot become a sage. And where there are no men, strive to be a man. He was just game. He was just putting you on game. He's putting you on game. He's showing you the balance to things, man. If you're in this work of evil, you cannot do this work of good. If you're in this work of sin, you cannot be in this work of righteousness. And where there are no men at, strive to be a man. Be a man. This is my nose ring popping out. This is Hillel and Shammai, the elders. Go look into them. Go look into their life. Go look at the disputes they had. They had some beefy disputes. Some that I don't have an answer to. Brothers don't got answers to. It's either you with them or you with them. Like we said, the thing describing the divorce with whenever a man is to go out to war and he just disappears. Shammai said, nope, can't remarry. Hillel said, yep, she can remarry. We say, what's the answer? These disputes get real. They may have an answer to a question you be looking for. You don't know. You got to look into the elders. You got anything out? Because that's all I got.
Good lesson. Good information. Good history.
Good information. Good history. With that, we want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem HaMashiach Yahushua. We want to say Shalom.
Shalom.